You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you, soon to be joined by our illustrious committee on Buffoon of the Year. It is that time of year, folks. It's the most wonderful time of year. It is Buffoon of the Year season here at Behind Enemy Lines Radio, our 5th annual Buffoon of the Year. On the line right now is our illustrious fellow of buffoonology, the incomparable and honorable Matt Fairley. Matt, how you doing, pal?
Oh, I'm doing wonderfully, thank you. How are you?
Oh, this is your season, pal. This is your time. This is your moment, right? You love this stuff.
I am sitting in my big comfy chair. I got a nice glass of scotch. Not scotch. American rye whiskey, because this is Trump's America now, and I'm making America great again.
Absolutely.
And I just could not be more thrilled to talk about who this year was the biggest dumbass.
Well, when you put it that way, it makes me want to jump right into it. We're going to have Amanda Kohut joining us in a few minutes as well. Her input was invaluable into this year's selections, as well as all of our contributors here on Behind Enemy Lines. Russ, again, can't be with us tonight, but shout out to Russ as always. We had a conclave, a grouping of our friends and show contributors that gave their input.
Oh, it
into
was
this.
wild.
Oh, absolutely. Names
wild.
were being thrown everywhere.
There were chairs thrown. We sacrificed a goat.
And yet, this was
we really got into it.
And yet, this was one of the calmest conclaves ever.
I know, because this year the buffoons really, really, really distinguished themselves. There were a lot of candidates discussed, but those that really, the cream rose to the cream rose to the top in 2016.
Absolutely. And just so you know, we take our buffoonology seriously here. In fact, Matt Fairley has turned it into a science. In addition to the convening of the conservative conclave of the cynical and the critical to correct the crass, the crazy, and the comically corrupt conduct of cads, clowns, creeps, and crackpots, which we have affectionately dubbed the C-15 conference. Matt Fairley has gone above and beyond in his study of buffoonology, which you can find at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. If you click on the Sharpton scale, trademark, you will see all about it. But Matt, please give everybody a rundown of the extensive work that you have done in the study of quantifying buffoonery.
Well, we here at the Behind Enemy Lines Institute for Buffoonological Existential Research, believe that, the truly stupid and foolish need to be evaluated and studied so that we can learn from their idiocy what not to do. Because as everyone knows, sometimes the point of your life is simply to be a warning for others. And we here at the Belieber Institute really are looking for those really great examples of people who just fail. And we do this by looking at two distinct factors here. And Gene, as you're aware, there are people who are buffoonish, there are actions that are buffoonish. And we'd like to try, if we can, and distinguish between the two.
Absolutely. Now go into the portion of research involving measuring the buffoonishness of a person.
So doing this, we developed a scale. Every good scientific measurement deserves a scale. Temperature has Celsius and Fahrenheit. Weights and measures have pounds and kilograms. Buffoonology has what we like to lovingly refer to as the Sharpton scale. Because as everyone knows, there's no greater buffoon in history than the great Reverend Al Sharpton. He means well. Bless his heart. But he's a buffoon. So using the Reverend Al as our lodestar of someone who is a 100 on the buffoonish scale, we can assign everyone a rating of 0 to 100 as to how big a buffoon they are. And
now, I must ask, Matt. I must ask one thing, yes. Because obviously, Reverend Al Sharpton, the forefather of, buffoon research, you once referred to him as the only known 100 on the buffoon scale that you created, and of course you named it the Sharpton scale. In this past year, have you been able to find another 100?
I have not. I mean, we had someone come close, and we'll talk about him later.
Okay.
We'll talk about him later because he's one of our candidates for Buffoon of the Year.
Oh, okay. Now listen, Amanda Cohen's on the line with us. Amanda, say hi to the world.
Hi, guys.
Okay, thank goodness you're there. Matt, please continue.
I wish our connection was better.
It'll be all right. Don't worry. Matt, go right ahead.
Well, so he's the only true 100. And so, we rate people against him. What percentage of a Sharpton are you as a buffoon? If you're only about 50% of a Sharpton as a buffoon, you get a score of a 50 on the Sharpton scale. And it's very simple like that. So everyone falls somewhere on the continuum. There's maybe 2 or 3 perfect zeros in history. Gandhi, Jesus, Weird Al. Really, really good saintly people.
Absolutely.
But everyone gets a score. Everyone gets a score. I get a score, Gene. You get a score, Gene. Our glorious President-elect Donald Trump gets a score. Everyone gets a buffoonish score.
I don't even dare ask what my score is, but please. But there's a second way to also do this, right?
Well, I'm sorry?
Hang on. Amanda's moving around a whole lot. I'm just going to repeat my question.
We've got, and her buffoon score is rising as we speak.
Wow. So, in addition to, I'm losing control already. It's the Buffoon of the Year show. Who cares? In addition to the Sharpton scale for people, what else is there for measuring buffoons as far as the acts of those people?
Well, I mean, if you go to the Sharpton scale at once again, www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, you'll see that we also measure specific buffoonish actions. Because, everyone, even the people at the very low end of the scale, are prone to doing something profoundly buffoonish. And so again, we use the Reverend Al as our measurement, and you get a score of how many Sharptons your buffoonish act is. For example, to go back to the trademark scale, if you lock your keys in the car, that's pretty stupid. But it's not world changing. There's only 50 Sharptons. However, if you're Gary Hart and you dare the press to follow you around with dispute allegations of adultery, and they get caught cheating on a boat called Monkey Business, that's 4 mega Sharptons right there. So you see that we have this continuum of facts and figures that we get to use.
And of course, this part of the scale is infinite, right? There's no boundary here.
Oh no, there is no boundary. right now, we don't have an upper limit. We're still. This is one area where the science is still being worked out. There's so many buffoonish acts through history that it's really hard for us to determine what was the most buffoonish thing ever. But you know what? We're still searching. We're going to find it.
You know what? The work continues, and that's why Buffoon of the Year is so important. It's science, people. People think that we're just here having fun, drinking, having a good time. It's science, people. Get in on it.
The best things about science were done while drunk, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. Have we not seen Drunken History? All right. Amanda Kohut is with us, and I think she's cleared up all the technical difficulties on her end. Amanda, you're there, right?
Finally here, guys.
All right. So,
yay!
We were just talking about the extensive work that Brother Fairley has been doing on the study of buffoonology. Any comment before we get into the selections?
Well, I just wanted to cover a little bit of chatter I saw in our chat room, which you can join us live for right now if you're out there listening. Something I do want to make clear is that Al Sharpton is the measure by which all buffoonery is measured. We've determined scientifically that one cannot be more buffoonish than Al Sharpton, and that's why we create the Lifetime Achievement Award. So once a buffoon reaches that status, they are retired from consideration. And Al Sharpton was our first honorific for that particular award.
And I think we should be very clear here. You don't have to get a perfect 100 to be a historically great buffoon, to be retired from our scale. But, the people who get in the 90s, that's what we're talking about. If you really want to be retired, you want to have your name hung from the rafters of, I don't know, I guess my apartment.
Well, Fairley, it's like measuring all basketball players ever against Michael Jordan. No one will ever be Michael Jordan.
Well, and that's the way it is. And then, you pick your lodestar and you go with it. And we've got so many great candidates.
Yes, no one can ever beat Jordan, but every now and then you find a LeBron. And that's why we can continue searching. You know what, guys? Hey, let's stop teasing the crowd. Let's start unveiling these. A la the NCAA Tournament Selection Show, we have taken what we believe to be the top 16 buffoons of 2016, and we have pitted them together in a Final Four style bracket, broken up into 4 different quadrants. A scandalous 16, if you will. And we've broken it up by different categories, they being media, politicos, I'm looking at my notes here, personalities, and wild cards. Now, let's also be clear, guys. Hillary Clinton is not going to be on this list because clearly she would just win. We want to make this competitive. She's one of those people, these honorary buffoons that we think we're going to retire later on. There's no need to clarify their buffoonery. We know all about Hillary Clinton.
And honestly, Jean, so much of her campaign in 2016 wasn't really buffoonish. It was just kind of sad, It stopped being buffoonish in that way that we all can chuckle. It's just kind of been like, oh, really, Hillary? Oh, really? It just started being sad. She was clearly out of her depth this year. She was clearly misreading the electorate. She was clearly misreading, what she had to do. And it was just kind of sad.
Okay, so snap decision. I want it right now from both of you. Where does Hillary Clinton lie on the Sharpton scale?
I give her a 70.
Amanda?
I'm going to give her a 60.
Really? I had her in the 80s range, guys. So I guess Fairley, again, is the middle ground.
My rationale is, while she...
Whoa, hold on, one at a time. Matt, go ahead. Matt, go ahead.
I mean, the whole email thing was pretty buffoonish. I mean, that was just... And honestly, when you compare her to her husband, I mean, he's not someone we like, but that was a man with some political gifts. He would have known to say, hey, yeah, my bad, I'm sorry, And that's what he did with Monica Lewinsky. Once it finally got to the point where he was caught, he said, yeah, I'm sorry, I did it, and I'm really sorry. And he walked out with a high approval rating. She never got that. She just couldn't face that, hey, I'm wrong, is the right way to go. And that's just it's such buffoonery to dig in so deep. And that really kind of elevates her above, the commonplace of just saying stupid things. So
the double down buffoon.
She kind of boosted herself this year.
It's the double down buffoon, absolutely. Amanda, what are your reasons for 60?
Well, first of all, no one will ever deny that she's above average on the Sharpton scale. But I think one thing to consider is that Hillary alone is not responsible for her buffoonery. How much of her buffoonery is about the institution of Clinton world? And I think when we go through our bracket, you're going to see that there's some picks on the bracket that are directly contribute to the events that played out in 2015 and 2016. So I don't want to, really give her too high a score, because credit must be given to other contributors.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is true about Hillary. So much of who she is a composite of a whole bunch of other people. She's a cipher. So it's hard to attribute her buffoonishness to herself.
And now you see how much study we put into this, guys. Way too much. By the way, this is meant to be interactive, so if you like our choices, if you disagree with our choices, hit us up on our social media at BEL_radio. Make sure you use hashtag Buffoon of the Year or hashtag BOTY. And if you're listening to us live here on Spreaker, go to www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, click on the Listen Live button, and join the chat room. We got some new people in the chat, which is really cool to see. And give us your immediate feedback on our choices. Let's get into this, folks. Let's get buffoonish. We are going to start with the first bracket being the media. Now, there is no doubt that the media, across the board, were ultimately buffoonish as all get out. But we have picked out what I think is a nuanced four, and there's going to be reasons behind the matchups. The first matchup is the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed. The number 1 seed being the editorial board of the Huffington Post versus Slate's chief political editor or writer or whatever, buffoon, whatever, Jamelle Bouie. Now, let's start very briefly. Huffington Post, obvious choice. And Amanda, why don't you start with telling us why?
Well, you know what? Aside from the obvious reasons, the big factor for Huffington Post for me is that little disclaimer that they put at the end of every political article, every current event article, that essentially demonized Donald Trump. And I think that if you want any credibility as a mainstream media organization like Huffington Post wants to claim, you can't insert editorial opinion into what should be an objective piece of journalism. And they did that for the entirety of the election, and it even made someone like me who did not support Donald Trump really, turn my nose up at an institution like the Huffington Post.
Right. Now, Matt, I'm going to ask you about HuffPo.
I think that's really what it was, is that their decision, for me, what made them buffoonish was to not the little thing at the bottom, but that they put all of their original coverage of Donald Trump on the entertainment page, not the politics page. And it really is just, it showed that they were not really trying to report the news, but really trying to shape the news, trying to influence the news, and in a way that really just completely, totally, and 100% misunderstood the mood of the nation. They live in the bubble, and that's fine. But at the same time, if you want to be a national news organization, you should maybe, just maybe, try and understand the parts of the world outside San Francisco and New York.
Not to mention the fact that they had... Hang on. Not to mention the fact that they had, before a vote was cast, they had Hillary Clinton a 98.3% likely winner of the presidency, and a photo was leaked of their... not leaked, but I think posted by them on Twitter, of their editorial board, and they were clowned for the lack of diversity. It was a whitewash, if you want to call it that. You know that I said wash.
They were whiter than I am.
And that's pretty darn white. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, you took the words out of my mouth, Gene. Huffington Post is responsible for Pollster, and it was recently rated amongst the least accurate polling aggregators in the entire election.
All right. So now listen, I did some... Amanda, actually, I got to give credit to Amanda Kohut. Amanda Kohut found Jamelle Bouie, who is the chief political correspondent for Slate. I'm just going to read a few headlines from stories that he wrote. And believe me, folks, I read a lot of his work in the past week. My God, what a buffoon. Headlines such as, "There's no such thing as a good Trump voter." "Why did some white Obama voters go for Trump? The Trump campaign is ending as it began, bigoted as hell. For minority voters, a ballot for Clinton is a proclamation that this is their country too." Clearly, Amanda, this man sees nothing but race everywhere he looks in politics.
Absolutely, Gene. And, to be fair, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of journalists out there who had written the negative Trump narrative during the election. But I think what really sets Jamelle Bouie apart is the fact that these are headlines that he wrote after the election. And I think that it really demonstrates a certain deafness on his part, or I shouldn't say certain, an absolute deafness on his part, that you have this, this sizable population of people that clearly felt that they had not been heard for years under the Obama administration, and now they finally got their voice. And instead of considering the fact that these people had valid concerns and that outreach needed to be made to these voters, he dismissed them and demonized them, just as if Trump had never won. He doesn't learn, and I think that it demonstrates a closed-minded approach to politics, which is the very thing that he accuses conservatives of.
Now, Matt, you just became aware of Mr. Bouie recently, right?
Well, like you said, this is you have to give credit where credit is due. This is Amanda's find, and she is a fine, well qualified buffoonologist, and that's why we love her. But one of the things that really strikes me out is this is getting another example of the dig in your heels buffoon. The one who cannot see that the world has changed, or more importantly, that the world he thought existed doesn't. And now he's like, well, screw that. I'm just going to keep going as if it did. So it's, it is what it is. He's buffoonish for that reason, for very much the dig in your heels way of thinking of, well, I'm just going to keep going as if everything's the same. Yeah, it's great. It's great that they're, sure that iceberg looks big, but we'll just keep going straight.
That's pretty buffoonish, absolutely. A couple of comments from the chat room saying, we have 2 social justice warrior websites. This is going to be a tough call, and they can't let the white privilege narrative go. Good stuff. It looks like we're doing good so far. And this next selection, this next matchup, though, is where we're going to lose half our listeners. Because either way, some conservative or populist or whatever you want to call it, Republican, whatever, is going to be mad. The number 2 seed.
Are you assuming that we don't have any Democrats listening, Gene? Are you assuming
absolutely
there are
correct.
That would tune into this?
Well, we know the ones who they are anyway, but it's like 2 or 3. Whatever. The number 2 seed, Breitbart News, versus the number 3 seed, the Never Trump Movement. It's about to get lit in here, folks. This is going to ruffle some feathers, Amanda, right?
Absolutely. And, I don't think we even need to do individual analysis. I think we could just discuss the head-to-head matchup here. Like you said, 2 Republican/conservative movements here, nominated for buffoonery for different reasons. Much like Jamelle Bouie, Never Trump is the group of people who dug in their heels and who are working against Trump. And we still know many of them who are out there and still Never Trump and are not accepting of the new reality. So for that reason alone, they deserve to be on this list.
Well, Matt, let me just... Go ahead.
I was going to say, Breitbart, on the other hand, I personally nominated for multiple reasons. Breitbart had been, for the entire duration of this election, the finest purveyor of unhinged political commentary and also inaccurate political commentary. I can't tell you all of the primary elections that Breitbart had said, it's going to go this way, it's going to go this way, in particular John McCain's primary election. And what happened on the Arizona primary election day? John McCain won re-election. And another example, right after Donald Trump won, Donald Trump started backsliding a little bit on some of his positions. What's the first thing Breitbart did? They posted a headline saying that they have already been betrayed.
You know what, though?
They have lost sight of Andrew Breitbart's work. Breitbart today is not the Breitbart that we knew 5 years ago.
As someone said in the chat room, it is now Bannon-Bart. But the reason why I agree with putting Breitbart here, and it's kind of the same reason for Never Trump, Breitbart reported every little development in the Trump campaign like it was the biggest earth-shattering announcement in history. Announcements like, when an Idaho senator decided to re-endorse Trump, the article was glowing. It was like they took the press release and they copied and pasted it right into their site. On the other hand, the Never Trump people did the exact same thing with every little thing to detract from Donald Trump. and they nitpicked at every single little thing. That, to me, is the earmarks of buffoonery. When people get so dug into their position that they fail to see the other side. We talked about the echo chamber with Jamel Bowie. This is two very different echo chambers battling it out.
And I will say this, just in the issue of journalistic integrity, and I'm sure that everyone's going to call me terrible things in the chat room once I say this. I did not vote for Donald Trump. I'm not one of those people who looks at it now. I'm not one of those people who looks at it now and says, "Oh my God, how could this happen? Oh my God, everyone's an idiot. Oh my God, everyone who voted for him is racist. Oh my God, everyone who voted for him was fool." That's the problem with the Never Trump movement. Is that again, it is a dig in your heels buffoonery, and that is a theme that we're seeing in this bracket. The theme that we're seeing is people who just couldn't accept a reality other than the one that they created for themselves. And Breitbart's another one. Say what you will about Andrew Breitbart, but the man had an integrity. He had a vision. He had an idea of, don't accept the narrative just because it's put in front of you. Think for yourself, evaluate it for yourself, put it forward against the independent facts that you know, and come to your own conclusion. Breitbart today, since his death, has become, this is what we believe, and if you don't believe it against us, you are a traitor and a failure. That's terrible. That is just terrible. It's antithetical to everything he stood for. And it's a damn shame. And it creates that echo chamber of, this has to be true because we say it's true. And that's just not a good thing going forward. And you know what? They were right. Let's give Breitbart credit where credit's due. They got onto Trump early, and guess who's president of the United States now? But they did it in such a way that just destroyed whatever credibility they have.
And that's, I think, what we were saying about this media bracket is Behind Enemy Lines is battling the echo chamber. The echo chamber can be progressive, conservative, populist. The echo chamber has to go. And I think that's what we're saying with these media picks, and I think we did a great job of rounding it out. Fair and balanced, if you will, from a show that is never fair and balanced. So listen, normally we would take a break and we would, say hi to some of our sponsors, like Less Government More Fun. Shout out to Less Government More Fun. Check out lessgovmorefun.com, and the swag there is amazing. I tell you, forget about, the slogan itself is great, but the clothes are comfortable. They come in bigger sizes for guys like me, and it's really, they've been such great supporters of the show. They shout out the show as much as they can on social media. LessGovMoreFun.com. We really love you guys. And by the way, Less Government More Fun in the chat tonight, and we love having them in there with some dynamite drop-ins. So thank you so much for joining us. What I'm also going to do is do our halftime stuff. We're going commercial free, guys. I'm making the snap decision right now. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines Radio.
Oh, dear God.
I'm Gene, that was Matt, and Amanda's around here somewhere. And while we're listening, check us out at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of the live show that we do live Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker, you can check us out at any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM in Jasper, Florida, WDDQ 92.1 FM in Adel, Georgia, both part of the Red Nation Rising Radio Network, both on terrestrial radio and online at Red Nation. I'm going to figure out that website later. I screwed it up, and I'll plug it in later, but it doesn't matter. Red Nation Rising Radio, check them out. Also on KLRN Radio, High Plains Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, ICRN, the Internet Conservative Radio Network, and Lanterns Radio at lanterns.buzz. But even if you miss us then on any one of those rebroadcasts, you can check us out on demand through any one of these services, including iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, SoundCloud, discover us on Google Play Music, and, of course, iHeartRadio. And now that I made a full buffoon of myself, back to the buffoonery.
And what Gene doesn't tell you is that they do the show through smoke signals coming out of the middle of Staten Island. So you just look out over New York Harbor and you can see the entire show.
I really don't like you right now, Fairly. But whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, most people don't.
Onward and upward, or downward as it may seem, with the bracket for Buffoon of the Year. I'm going to leave this up to... I know that I gave you guys a format of what we were going to do, but let's shake it up. I want to know what bracket you want to do next. Do you want to do politicos, personalities, or wild cards?
I think we need to save the wild card for the last, because it's got what I consider someone worthy of retirement. But the other two, let's go to personalities.
Okay,
Oh, wait.
personalities? Okay.
All right, you know what? I like going out of order. Personalities. Personalities are people who are non-political, but who step into the political arena and make total asses of themselves. As you can imagine, the list was long and illustrious, ranged from Hollywood, sports, theater, social media, the whole gamut. But we came through, and not without a bit of argument, by the way, with a top 4.
There were a lot of omissions. That people are going to be surprised by.
But we had to negotiate.
Well, there was a Missouri Compromise for Buffoon of the Year in the personalities bracket, and it all had to do with the number 1 seed. I disagree with the choice for number 1 seed for Buffoon of the Year. The number 1 seed for Buffoon of the Year, Beyonce. Going up against the number 4 seed, Mark Cuban. I vehemently disagree. I don't think Beyonce deserved the number 1 seed at all in this.
I got to disagree with Eugene, because while Beyonce hasn't been as vocal as some of our other picks in this particular area of the bracket, you have to think about Beyonce's audience and how much influence she has. And, think about the subtle things she did. Perhaps we forgot the Super Bowl when she did the Black Panther costumes during the halftime show right after a deadly police shooting. Her actions have so much influence on millions of people. First of all, it's sad that a celebrity can influence that many people, but, that's the reality of it. And if you have that much influence over people, you would think you would be measured in what you say. You think that you would have a good, strong message, but that hasn't been the case. And in the 11th hour of the election, Hillary Clinton called upon Jay-Z and Beyonce to rally voters as if that was somehow going to be the magic key to turn everyone out. So while Beyonce might not have the outrageous performances that some of our other picks do, it's the scale that matters here.
Matt, your thoughts?
Well, scale is an issue. I mean, I'm with Gene on this. A lot of the people who were part of the conclave, part of the C-15, were all about Beyonce. So, my prediction is that she's going to have legs. She's going to have long, beautiful, glorious legs.
Snap out of it. Snap out of it. Snap out of it.
But, like I said, I don't think that, she's an artist. She's a performing artist. She's going to do stupid things as being, getting attention is her job. It's literally her job. So I disagree with her being this high, but, I think Amanda's point about, the Super Bowl show directly after a police shooting showed a little bit of tone deafness that was kind of buffoonish.
I can see her being on the, I see her in the mix in the top 4. There's no doubt about that. Now, again, I'll let you know who my number 1 pick is with the next selection here. Mark Cuban. Matt Fairley was big on Mark Cuban, right? He really just kind of, again, this is to go back to the theme, this was a real kind of double down, stick in the mud, put dig your heels in buffoonish year for him, and that, you constantly saying everything that he knew better than Donald, he knew better than Donald. Donald was never going to win, Donald's never going to win, and, well, we all know what happened. So, I mean, that kind of buffoonishness of repeatedly saying it. And then since the election, he's really there's been no repentance from him. He's been really along the lines of like, no, I'm still right. I don't care what the American people say, I was still right. He talked out of both sides of his mouth. He went from being a Trump supporter to a troll beyond belief, right, Amanda?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the man who swore up and down that if Donald Trump were to win, the economy would crash and the entire world would be in pieces. Not only has that not happened, my stocks have actually been doing extraordinarily well since Trump won, just as a sidebar. But I find it very humorous that in the past few weeks, we saw that that Mark Cuban had a secret meetup with Stephen Bannon. So after all this bluster on television, there he is consorting with one of his worst enemies.
And how is that Wu-Tang financial portfolio doing for you?
I diversified my bonds.
Aight, yo. Okay, so that's the first matchup.
You gotta diversify your bonds.
Morgan Stanley, bunch of
can't do that. Can't do that.
Really, that one? That one, because, I did leave a word out that we definitely can't say.
Listen, my show, my rules, all right? When you get your own show, you curse all you want and say whatever you want.
Stanley, what they are? Come on.
Stop. Okay. We need to get through the rest of the bracket. We're going to run out of show. I know this is fun, but we're not even at the halfway mark now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for me, the uncrowned champion of Buffoon of the Year, I'm going out on a limb. This is my guy. This is my horse. I'm riding him to the finish. Is the number 2 seed in our bracket. And that is Colin Kaepernick. And he is going up against probably, we couldn't put her uncle or whatever relative in there. So we needed to have a Schumer. So Amy Schumer, congratulations. You're in the running for Buffoon of the Year. Kaepernick versus Schumer. Kohut, why is Colin Kaepernick not the number 1 seed? To me, he's the number 1 seed overall.
Well, he's not the number 1 seed because of one simple fact, Gene. We found out after the election that he did not even vote. And I think at that point, many members of the media turned and said, we can't even take you seriously anymore. So I don't think people who even have natural, likeness to him, who have any similarity or commonality with him, I don't even think they take him seriously anymore. And I think that really hurt his seeding this year.
Okay, well, Matt, go ahead.
See, for me, that was the different thing. Say what you will about his protest. I live by, our Vice President-elect Mike Pence's statement that, they boo you. Yeah, you say something different, but, that's the sound of democracy. Mike Pence said it best when Hamilton was booing him. That is the sound of democracy. People are allowed to express their opinion. If he wants to kneel during the Star Spangled Banner, that's his choice. I think it's a stupid choice, but the best part about America is you're free to be stupid. You're free to have a stupid opinion. However, if you're going to be that political, if you're going to be that outspoken about what you think is wrong with the country, if you're going to be that outspoken about what needs to be changed, dude, you must show up to vote. That makes you a buffoon. So I think, that alone is what merited his inclusion. I just didn't think that, unfortunately, complaining and then not voting is less buffoonish these days and more, unfortunately, expected amongst a certain segment, or shall we call them a generation that, millennials. It's just this is the expectation these days. But, that's just buffoonish as heck.
Now, Matt, I'm going to stick with you for a second to go to the other side of this matchup, which is Amy Schumer. We're getting some blowback in the chat room saying that she wasn't worth a pick. Now, there were other names that were coming up for this slot. Lena Dunham was one name that came up. Cher was one name that came up. We could have put George Lopez in one of that spots. But Matt Fairley brought up the reason why all those 3 should not get a spot. See, the question in the chat room just came up right now. Where's Lena Dunham? Answer that question and explain why Amy Schumer is there, Matt.
Because we're talking about the buffoon of the year. This is the buffoon of 2016. Lena Dunham is a great example. Lena Dunham is a whiny, untitled, spoiled brat. But she was a whiny, entitled, and spoiled brat in 2013. She was a whiny, entitled, spoiled brat in 2014, and again in 2015. She didn't do anything new this year. Being a whiny, entitled, spoiled brat is just her shtick at this point. It's what she does to keep getting HBO to pay her. It's what she does to keep getting book advances from people who want to feel good about what they can find in their independent bookstore in the nice parts of Williamsburg. She didn't do anything in 2016 that set her apart. Same thing for Cher. Cher was just crazy. Well, you want to know what? That's been Cher's raison d'etre since 1972.
Oh, man. I almost spit my water out of that one.
Yeah.
You almost made me spit my water.
Amy Schumer. Go ahead.
No. Amy Schumer is the exception that proves the rule.
Amy Schumer this year, this is the year where she finally took it too far. She finally took her act too far. She finally, just was too offensive. She was too much of a... it's not politically incorrect because it was just stupid. And then what she did was, she did what everyone else does that makes you a buffoon. She dug her heels in. She offended people and dug her heels in and gave the non-apology apology of, well, I'm sorry if you were offended. I mean, that is the stupidest thing ever.
And
that is why
she lost money doing it.
She finally did something. Yes,
and
exactly.
She lost money doing it.
And that is exactly why she was included this year. And as the founder of the Sharpton scale, I put a veto down.
Yes, his scale, his rules. Amanda, what do you think about this matchup?
I think Amy Schumer is a stronger candidate than anyone here is giving her credit for. You have to think about the things that she did throughout the year that weren't necessarily about the election. You know, we could talk about the walkout during her Florida show, but I was thinking about other things when I nominated Amy Schumer. I was thinking about the fact that she told jokes about Hispanics. She said, how did her joke go? She said, I used to date Hispanics, but now I prefer consensual. You know, she would say things like that and then follow it up by saying things about how we need to not be offensive, we need to be inclusive. So there, you know, not only was she hypocritical, but she's also tone deaf to the very things she was saying. And that's the worst part, because she would then vilify Donald Trump for when he would say, you know, we need to get rid of the Mexicans who are rapists, and then she's making jokes about it to try and make money off it, and that's just a terrible year for her.
All right.
Yeah, and I have to say, if you go to, you know, BuzzFeed, if you go to The Cut, you know, places where millennials like to congregate, even millennials are sick of her. Even they are saying that she's gone a bridge too far and that she has completely lost touch with reality. When your own has turned against you, buffoon.
All right, time to move on, guys, because we're not running that low on time, but we still got to get to half the bracket here, and we got less than half the show to do it. Time to talk about politicos. These would be political candidates, party politicians, partisan politicians, and a whole bunch of them could have been nominated. Obviously, many of them have been retired. Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and many others. Hillary Clinton, of course, we mentioned at the outset of the show. But we came up with 4, again, a little more nuanced than most. But I think we have a fearsome 4 here. The number 1 seed, and who else really could it be? Donna Brazile, former CNN contributor, vice chair of the DNC, who got caught up in so many different things in this election, versus a name you may not know, but if you're a wonk like us, you know her. The number 4 seed is Clinton confidant Cheryl Mills. Amanda, take us through this matchup.
What can you say about Donna Brazile? She leaked CNN questions, clear conflicts of interest, and under her watch, the Democrats completely floundered an election against a candidate who should have been relatively easy for them to beat. You know, her seating is very clear cut. There's not much nuance to her. The nuance exists, however, with the number 4 seed, Cheryl Mills. And like you said, this is a wonkier name. If you've been paying attention to the Hillary Clinton email scandal, you probably know her. But this goes back to what I said towards the beginning of the show. Hillary Clinton alone is not responsible for her buffoonery. Cheryl Mills is one of those contributing factors that made Hillary the great buffoon that she is, for the one simple reason that Cheryl Mills is the individual who advised Hillary Clinton to use a private email server. That is the source, the ground zero of the entire scandal that toppled her presidential ambitions.
Matt, anything to add?
You know, Cheryl Mills is a good one, and it's the idea of what we talked about before, how, you know, Hillary Clinton didn't fail on her own. She was failed by so many of the people who were around her. And Cheryl Mills would be like, no, just do this. Don't worry, it's okay, you play by different rules. You play by a different set of rules. You don't have to apologize for them. You know, and that's what makes her buffoon. The thing about Donna Brazile is that we have had 2 candidates lose in my lifetime since 2000, lose the Electoral College, but win the popular vote. Al Gore, who Donna Brazile was the campaign manager for, and Hillary Clinton, who Donna Brazile was the head of who was the interim chair of the DNC for at the time. That is twice that she's the head of a major party or head of a campaign, and the candidate failed at the only poll that was actually important. And that is just some high-level, ultimate buffoonery right there. I mean, that is historical-level buffoonery. And it's just, you know, it's the kind of thing you gotta shake your head at.
Absolutely. But if anyone can top those 2, it may be the other 2 in this bracket. The number 2 seed, a name the chat room has been clamoring for, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, versus the number 3 seed, maybe a dark horse in this Buffoon of the Year tournament, former Governor Gary Johnson. Matt, you take us through this matchup.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz is buffoonish because she literally rigged the primaries. I mean, rigged is such a loaded word, but I mean, she definitely put her thumb on the scale for Hillary with the scheduling of the debates. with the scheduling of the primaries, with feeding it her information, with feeding her statistics, with stacking the deck in favor of Hillary. And here's the deal. If you're going to stack the deck for your candidate in the primaries, that candidate better win. That candidate better be a juggernaut who can't be stopped. And we all know how that worked out. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, for stacking the deck in favor of a candidate who would lose in a way that is historic, you are a buffoon. And Gary Johnson, Gary Johnson is so disappointing. I mean, in 2016, both candidates were hugely unpopular for a number of reasons, and he had a chance to be the guy who could, if not, I mean, no one ever thought he'd win, but like to make a real showing as a third party and really try and like start a third conversation, and he just buffooned it up at every chance he get. What is Aleppo? What is he was like a stoner who was trying to take a final exam that he forgot was coming up.
Sticking his tongue at reporters
totally
and all this stuff.
moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Amanda, anything to add?
It was just terrible.
You know what? In the interest of time, I'm not going to add on to what Matt said, but I am going to say that this particular region of the bracket was part of our compromise. I had wanted to have Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz meet up together in the first round for a DNC chair to DNC chair head-to-head. But I also wanted to have Cheryl Mills nominated. So my compromise was that I broke them up in the first round in exchange for having Cheryl on the bracket. So to all the listeners out there, if you love buffoonery like I do, you will make sure that in the Elite 8 round, there will be a Donna Brazile, Debbie Wasserman Schultz matchup.
Oh, we're electioneering.
Two buffoonish. Listen, I can do what I want. Let me live my life. We want a DNC chair matchup. It will be epic. Vote them through to Elite 8.
Oh, my goodness. All right, and now finally, we get to the wild cards. Now, wild card could be anybody from anything. It could be a personality, it could be a politico, it could be a member of the media, it could be a local low-level official, like a mayor or a governor or something like that, and someone that's not on the national scene but made such news. Now, as you've heard so far, we've been doing the number one seed unveil first. I'm switching it up this time because you'll see why. The number two seed... Okay. The number 2 seed in this, and only because I screwed it up and I reversed it in the graphic that I made, that will be up on the site soon. The number 2 seed
of the year.
Stop it. The number 2 seed is the New York City Board of Elections versus the number 3 seed, Marilyn Mosby. Guys, I love this matchup so much because it brings out the wonk in me. It's local politics. And it deals with so many issues. New York City Board of Elections, scrubbing hundreds of thousands of people from the voter rolls on primary day, just mucking up probably the most important presidential election season ever. And Marilyn Mosby for going over in the Freddie Gray trials that she put on. Trials that, in my legal opinion, I hope in yours as well, Matt, that should have never seen a courtroom.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, prosecutorial discretion being what it is, you and I could wonk out 100% on this, and no one wants to hear that because, dear God, would that be boring. But, hey, there comes a point where you have to, sure, okay, fine, you want to take one. But when that one comes back is not guilty, maybe take a hint. Maybe take a hint that, the people aren't going to go your way, that cops get the benefit of the doubt, that cops are respected members of our community, regardless of what other people in society want you to think. Maybe take that hint. But, she didn't, so she's a buffoon. And to the New York Board of Elections, so disappointing. Those of us that are listening that aren't from New York, this year when the New York primary was actually worthwhile, was literally, and Gene, tell me if you agree with me, the first time that's ever happened.
In a very long time.
So late in the game that, But by the time it gets to us, it doesn't matter. It's been decided. And for once, for both elections, it did. The Board of Elections had one damn job. Determine who can vote. And instead it decided, hey, you several 100,000 people, you're dead. And that's just gigantic buffoonery. When you have one job and you fail at it miserably.
And the reason why I love the New York City Board of Elections pick is because a lot of, us on this show, we know a lot of the people who were involved in this epic fail, and we're laughing our butts off about it. Amanda, I
this is
know
very
you want to
personal to us, and we apologize to everyone else. But sometimes you just gotta
point of personal privilege. That's all it is. Amanda, I know you want to come in on this one, but let's get to the last matchup, because this, to me, is the reason why I do Buffoon of the Year.
Okay, this is my calling card.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 seed for the wild card bracket, making, what is this, his third appearance? I think it's his third appearance in this contest. Carlos Danger himself, Mr. Homer Abedin, Anthony Weiner, versus... After I say that, does it really matter who he's against? Absolutely it does. Because the person he's against is the man who uses 123ABC for his password for his email, John Podesta. Amanda, go with it, babe. It's all yours.
I'm not going to waste my time talking about John Podesta. You can read about him. But Anthony Weiner is so close to my heart. That's what I said, yeah.
Oh, wait, I have to... Wait, I know you want to go off on this, Amanda, but Matt, is Anthony Weiner the closest thing to a 100 on the Sharpton scale that we have besides Reverend Al?
After this year, he's in the 90s.
Okay, Amanda, go ahead.
And Amanda can tell us why.
I was a resident of New York's 9th Congressional District in 2011. I lived through the first Weiner text and Twitter scandal. And I worked on the campaign that in 2010 ran against Weiner and was vindicated in 2011 when he vacated his seat. And I got to go to Congress. And then in 2013, he struck again with Sidney Leathers. But ladies and gentlemen, this year in 2016, Anthony Weiner created his piece de resistance. Anthony Weiner was able to impact the presidential election because of the fact that investigators were investigating his potential alleged child porn involvement. And by seizing his laptop, they uncovered emails that were involved with the Hillary Clinton campaign and the foundation, and they were brought under federal investigation. And James Comey sent a notification about it to Congress. I mean, it is exceptional buffoonery to be able to interfere with an election by the involvement of your separate legal case. I mean, folks, you have to understand, like Gene said, this is the third year that Anthony Weiner has been nominated. This is the equivalent of Mike Piazza trying to get in the Hall of Fame to Mets fans. We've been waiting so long to get him into the Hall of Fame and retire him.
He's never won. He's never won. He's made it to the finals.
Never won.
Twice. He's never won. It's crazy. I can't believe he's never won.
No, Gene, Mike Piazza got into the Hall of Fame this year, and this year Anthony Weiner is going to make it into the Hall of Fame too. This is my horse, and I am going to see him through to the finals and to victory.
I think that might have been the first politigasm on Behind Enemy Lines Radio. Folks, it is time for predictions, and then we gotta go. But before we get to predictions, Amanda, how can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Amanda Kohut, Kohut.
And Fairly, do you even want people to find you on social media?
If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at FairlyM1999. That's FairlyM1999, where we party like it's 1999.
Wow. Okay. And finally,
hey man, 2016 took Prince from us, man. We gotta represent.
Yes, I too miss the purple one. However, it is time for predictions, folks. I want it on record. And, of course, you can go on record at goonrecord.com, one of our sponsors that we normally play on the show. Goonrecord.com, tell us what you believe in. Take a stand on Behind Enemy Lines Radio's Buffoon of the Year or any number of topics, from politics, sports, finance, fashion, religion, whatever it may be. Go on record. What do you stand for? Sign up now. Let the world know what you believe in. I want you to tell me what you believe in as far as the winner for Buffoon of the Year. Matt Fairley, just give me a name and that's it.
Weiner.
Kohut?
We're going to see Weiner rise this year.
Weiner.
I think he comes up short again. That's just my I think he comes up short. I believe Colin Kaepernick is Buffoon of the Year. I just believe it in my heart and soul. To me, it's Kaepernick or Brazil, but I just hate Colin Kaepernick so much. That's just my pick. All right, folks. I want to thank Amanda Kohut. I want to thank Matt Fairley coming on the show. I want to thank everybody for listening to this show. And I want everybody to know that the fun has just begun with Buffoon of the Year. Starting tomorrow, you'll be able to vote on your pick. Polls will be open till the show next week, and we'll announce the winners then of who won the quarterfinal matchups and who moved on to the round of 8. And my goodness, it's going to take us right through to the new year where we will finally crown Buffoon of the Year 2016. Keep checking us out at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and let the fun begin, because once again, folks, it's the most wonderful time of year. It's Buffoon of the Year time. Thanks for listening to the show. Hopefully Russ is back with us next week. But until then, we're going to shut this sucker down. Matt, Amanda, thanks so much for coming on. But until next week, we are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.